We're still waiting for football on the field, but regardless, we talk football nonstop here each and every day at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. That includes Miami Hurricanes live each and every week, and a special bonus edition. We've got two coming this way for you this particular week. So it's Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. We appreciate you stopping by for the live version, and of course, for those of you who watch it on a replay, got the Wholesome One Holloway. Please check out his YouTube channel. Right here talking Miami football on a regular basis. Wholesome One, how you doing?
I'm holding on, man. I've been watching so much film, man. So much film of the 2019 team, 18, 17. I was kind of going back and watching a lot of the recent games. I mean, I don't want to spoil myself and watch the 2001 team. You know, that's way too long ago about how great we used to be. But, you know, watch some greats of like Duke Johnson and Denzel Perryman and Philip Dorsett and Eric Flowers, guys that we took for granted when they were here, that we would love to have come back. And hopefully we can bring in some guys that have that type of impact for the 2020s moving forward for the Canes.
Again, please check out the Wholesome One's YouTube channel. Subscribe over there for Miami Football Talk on a regular basis as he breaks down the game tape and gives his angle on the Canes. And, of course, subscribe here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, if you love the game across the board. And, of course, Miami Talk each and every week. Got the Wholesome One today live, and tomorrow Cam Underwood to talk Miami football at 11 a.m. Eastern time. All right, when you talk about going back and looking at the game tape, are you focused just on 2019, or have you gone back before that?
Well, my main focus over this time has been 2019, but I like to compare, because players don't have to be that, but we've seen some greatness at one particular position for me as a former defensive tackle, defensive lineman, is defensive tackle. And I've been looking at a lot of the D tackles as far as going into the 2020s. So John Ford, Nesta Silvera, and Jordan Miller have been my main focus over the last 5 days or so. But I've gone back to look at R.J. McIntosh and Kendrick Norton and Alan Bailey, guys like that. And, even your Curtis Porters and guys who didn't really live up to a lot of hype, Marcus Forston, that were here. And just looking at the comparison and scheme and whether they were in 4-3 attacks or 3-4s and, who has lived up to the hype and who has kind of caught my eye on some plays that maybe their stats don't jump out. But these guys made a lot of plays under the radar that we don't really talk about as Canes fans.
Yeah, it's a much different deal, especially if you know football, looking at a game separated from the emotion of what's going on in the moment, because you're concerned about situations. You're concerned about just, again, the adrenaline's pumping. You want to win the game, and you want to you're just more in the fan mode in the moment, even if you know football, if your team's playing. Now, if you're watching some game that you could care less about in regards to who wins and you just enjoy it from the standpoint of watching good football, that's different. But when your team's involved and you're in the moment, and it's an emotional experience. You go back months later and you can watch it and evaluate. So, again, a different experience from watching the games live. Here we are several months later. What comes to mind in regards to what stood out to you that you thought, okay, I didn't necessarily see it from that perspective at the time, didn't notice that player, whether that be a positive or a negative?
Well, my main focus is, when you flip it to the offensive line, you saw some flashes, you saw some good things. You saw when the team was in spread, especially Louisville. Louisville was the game where we kind of clicked. Like I said, the big difference between Georgia Tech, Florida, in Louisville is that we clicked on the offensive side of the ball, and we didn't turn over the football like we did against Florida, and how we didn't click at all against Georgia Tech, a game that we should have won with no problem. A lot of those games, it hurts to reopen that wound, but just like you said, Mark, it's different. It's a different approach to it. It's looking at it like, I know the outcome. How did we get there? What was going on? What are some good things? That's my first look into it. What are some of the things that I missed because I was just so mad at the fact that this guy dropped the pass to play before, that I didn't see that Zion Nelson has some really good growth as a left tackle halfway through the season on. Yeah, he wasn't the best, far from top tier, but he's doing very well for himself. But we didn't notice that because we were just so angry at the fact that he was starting anyway, and he shouldn't be out there, Or when you watch the Duke game and you wonder, how is Miami not winning these games, and you see that we had 5 back-to-back 3-and-outs right before halftime, or you have a tired defense that gives up a touchdown. All those little things that you go back and you rewatch it as an analyzer, as someone who just knows the outcome, it makes it a little different watching it and being able to appreciate the good things that happen. Like a Jordan Miller being able to come in on certain downs, whether it's 3rd and short or whether it's like 2nd and 6, and he gets to get off the ball because he's rested, as opposed to Nesta Silvera, John Ford, and Pat Bethel at the time. He gets to shoot off and make a TFL because he's been rested. Or you see Nesta Silvera, when we put him at the 3 technique instead of the 1 technique, he's able to shoot gaps and make plays. But when we put him at the 1 technique and he has to try to take on double teams, we may think and call him a bully, but he's actually really good if you let him just shoot gaps and make plays instead of hold gaps and take on double teams, because that's just what you want him to do. All those type of things, when you go back and rewatch it, you're like, okay, if we can maximize these things and take what a lot of these players do well and put them in situations, as opposed to force starting a lot of people with our depth issues, then that's going to really maximize what a lot of our players do well. So it was pretty exciting, and that's on the defensive side of the ball. Now, the flip side of that, on the offensive side of the ball, a lot of us do not give Mike Harley credit. I mean, Mike Harley, yes, he has some key drops. Mike Harley is our best receiver coming back in as far as statistical-wise, coming into the 2020s. Now, that's an argument made for, is he actually the best as far as intangibles, but he brings the most to the table statistically wise for the University of Miami. You go back and you watch a lot of those catches, he made some marquee good catches. Against some really nice coverage where he took some nice hits, whether it was from Jaron, whether it was for N'Kosi Perry, either one of the QBs that played a lot last year. Someone else that is going to need to have a nice season is Will Mallory. The height, weight, speed guy. He looks good. Looks good in pass, but at the same time, you look at him and you watch the film, and he missed a lot of key tackles, a lot of key catches. Flashed a little bit, but we can't continue to have flash in the pan approaches to things. We need people who are going to show up week in and week out, no matter who the opponent is, and make the plays, whether it's a HBCU game, whether it's a JUCO game, or whether it's the national championship game. It needs to be played at the exact same level of intensity. And you saw that Dan Enos, who I'm glad he's no longer a part of the University of Miami, but you can see that depending on who the team was, he didn't really have the same approach week to week. He was aggressive in big games where you knew his job was on the line and you had to win these games. He was aggressive. But then in other games where you felt like, what are we doing here? You feel like he took the approach of, we're the University of Miami, we should just be able to run dive and get 6-7 yards. So a lot of those things you go back and you rewatch, and it brings back to my memory a lot of things that I was mad about, a lot of things I forgot that was going on. And I also had a great appreciation for a lot of our players that, like Mike Harley, like Jordan Miller, someone I noticed, like Sam Brooks, who flashed when he did, like Al Blades Jr. These guys, you go back and you rewatch the film. Yeah, they gave up some plays. Yeah, they didn't do what we asked them to do at a high level every time. But the growth is there, and you got to watch it throughout the season.
Wholesome One, you bring up a great point in regards to evaluating these plays, because all we care about in the moment is the result of the play.
Mm-hmm.
It was an 18-yard gain. Don't care if the left black tackle blew an assignment and the quarterback was one step away from getting killed, or there was a dropped pass. But everybody else, the other 10, did their assignments perfectly. Quarterback made the right decision, went to the right guy, threw a perfect pass. The pass protection was perfect. Receiver just dropped the ball. So it was a failed play. But you miss all that, as you mentioned, with the pass protection in regards to, or the quarterback, the wide out gain separation, tremendous route, pass protection was perfect. Quarterback sailed it.
Mm-hmm.
Done play. That's it. Or, man, this running back saved this play. Blocking was not good. He just got a little bit of a crease. He broke a tackle in the backfield, and then he took off and found the edge and whatever. Again, the result of the play is what matters in the moment, but the evaluation means a whole lot when you go back and it's interesting to see what's being done elsewhere on the field that you don't necessarily, because everybody follows the ball, and not necessarily talking about you because you give it a look from a different perspective, even live, than most of us do. But there's a lot there.
There's nothing like being able to go back and watch the Bethune-Cookman game and just see how some of the issues we had, Bethune-Cookman, Central Michigan, really manifested themselves when we played bigger, better teams. And you realize that a lot of the teams we were playing watched a lot more film than our offensive coaches. Just had to. It was no way that we were calling some of the same exact plays that Central Michigan was able to read, to where their line, one of them was cover 3 against the tight end pop pass, right? So we were able to kind of eat with Brevin Jordan going right over the linebackers. We were able to attack them a lot with that play, right? The exact same lineup formation comes out against FIU, and their linebackers and cornerbacks knew exactly where to sit and where we were going to go with the ball, because it wasn't about having a rhythm. It was always just about timing and where you need to go with Dan Enos' football. That's the way that he was teaching our QBs. So the way to combat that was give a cover 2 look like the middle of the field is wide open, and the linebackers at the snap of the ball would spread and act like it's wide open, and Brevin would try to sneak right behind them, and the linebacker would just scoot right back in the middle of the field as the whole player and catch the football interception. Or they give the look, like, yet again, like I was saying about cover 2, where the middle of the field is where you attack cover 2, because it's linebackers against skill players, either tight ends or slots. And so FIU would give that exact same look again when we want our slant over top. And what they would do is at the snap of the ball, the linebacker would fake like he's going out to the alley flats, and instead he would scoot right back into the middle of the field, and Jaron hit him right in the face with the ball again, trying to throw the slant route. So you saw that the drop interceptions of Bethune-Cookman and Central Michigan turned into true interceptions later on in the season, when defensive coaches actually turned on the film and said they have no rhythm. He's doing whatever the coach exactly tells him to do when he sees this coverage at this time. He's not actually reading and reacting to live. He's doing what he's told to do. So we're just going to we're going to lie to him. We're going to give him what he thinks he's looking at, and robber coverage right over top interception. And it's hard to watch. You know, you wish the absolute best for a guy like Jen Williams, who isn't a part of our program anymore. He's going to move on to wherever he is, but it's unfortunate that coaching truly matters. And I think that fans are starting to understand that coaching and scheme does matter, because all these young men, there's a reason why they're there and they're at the University of Miami. They have the talent. I mean, just like at these great institutions, other big state schools, there's a reasons why they're there. But if the person who is in control of them isn't running the right scheme or calling the right plays, you can truly mess up a young man's career. And I think that's what Danny Enos did for our Hurricanes this past season. And I hope that Rick Lashley and his offensive staff get an opportunity in the fall to actually go out and show a big progress on that side of the ball.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, bringing you Miami talk each and every week with a wholesome one, and also with Cam Underwood. So we've got Miami covered. So what you need to do is lock it in right here. If you get the subscription, you get the notification, because we've got schedules flying all over the place. We can't lock down a time and a day every week, but we do get together. We've made it happen now 53 consecutive weeks. So you got to subscribe. You turn on the notification bell. Then you know when we're going live to talk Miami. We've got Florida State live each and every week, Ohio State as well. Then we tack on a ton of other teams, the most recent Notre Dame last Monday night. So if you either love college football and want to hear about everyone, or you just want to troll and trash some other fan bases, you jump in the other live chats as well and do that. But we got the wholesome one here, and we are so appreciative of his time
Thank you.
insight and expertise into the Canes. All right, Wholesome One. This is an unprecedented time in regards to football teams staying together, staying unified, even if they can't do it in person, obviously, because of the situation. But this really tests the character and the leadership of the football team beyond what the coaching staff can provide. They can provide some instruction, some direction, but you got guys scattered all over the country on their own when it comes to nutrition, on their own when it comes to working out, doing all the right things, keeping themselves safe. And in regards to the leadership of the football team and the individual character of the athlete, this is unprecedented what they're being asked to do right now.
Yeah, it's extremely unique to say the least. One thing that came out, there was an article on the University of Miami with our strength and conditioning coach, Coach David Feely, where he had like virtual workouts to where like kind of what we're doing right now, people had to come in and actually do the workouts in front of him on camera. That was really cool to see. I mean, they didn't really show everything. They just had like little screenshots of it, little snippets of it. And it was really cool to see that they're taking that initiative to use technology. I know right now here at NDSU, we're doing a lot of virtual school. Of course, I mean, school has to continue. So you have your online classes where there's a video cam and everyone checks in and we're doing notes and stuff like that, answering questions. So why not use the technology reverse and do it for strength and conditioning and working out? You know, is that perfect form? Is that the right angle? What are you doing? All that type of stuff. You're supposed to lift it this way. You're supposed to do it like that. This is the intensity I want to see, all that type of thing. Another thing that stood out to me was seeing a lot of our linemen specifically working out together and doing lifts together on social media, and not only lifts, but actually like drills, you know, hey, we want to step this way. What are we supposed to do on this snap count and things of that nature. And social media only gives us a certain amount, but it was great to see it. You know, I don't know how often that was. I don't know when exactly it was, but it was nice to see on a consistent basis our Hurricanes working out together, keeping in communication. And that's, I think, is a big thing about recruiting guys in state. You know, this is something that it works out well for us. Well, if you're only an hour or two drive away or a 45-minute drive away, then it's a lot easier to work out together and come together, you know. But if you got a whole bunch of West Coast Canes who went home in the West Coast or Northern East Coast Canes who went home, it'll be a little harder to get in contact with them and have them come down and work out together. But hey, every school has their out-of-state guys. That's just me with my Dade County love and being a Florida boy and a South Florida Miami boy. So that's how I look at it. But it's an amazing opportunity to take advantage of the situation, because in life you're going to have things that happen to you. But it's not about the things that happen to you. It's about how you react to those things. And I think the University of Miami is doing a good job at it as a football program.
Yeah, fortunately, in this day and age, you've got so many technological tools to take advantage of and bridge the gap and make up for what is, again, a very unique situation that we've not seen during the modern age of college football expansion. You know, we've seen, unfortunately, mass destruction in regards to these type of epidemics years and years ago at another date and time. But in terms of the proliferation of major college football, this is uncharted territory. And just here in the last week, I've heard a lot of dates thrown out, a lot of scenarios in regards to shortened seasons and suspended seasons and canceled seasons. And I don't think we're anywhere close to that, especially since because of the severity of the issue, but also coupled with the advancements that we're making medically and in regards to resources and equipment going out to people. And we need to understand the data is behind what's actually happening out there at 1:30 in the afternoon Eastern time right this second is not going to be caught up by the data for a while, especially in regards to recovered cases. The number of recoveries that we see, that's a small amount compared to the actual number of people who are recovering, because they've got to go through a 14-week period for us to know that they've truly recovered, and they've got to be tested and so forth. So there's a lot more people that are getting through this and recovering than what the numbers would show us now.
Correct. I'm glad you said that. Not to get into one of those, this is a Miami Live,
Yep.
and yeah, we come here for football. But I was having this conversation. I don't like to say argument, or I'll say debate. I was having this debate with someone about them saying that the U.S. had the most amount in the country, and I was like, well, we just kind of started being able to test for this. Like, calm down. Understand that these things, we might be recovering a lot more than you think. These things are it's happening like this, but the results are coming out behind the recovery because we're just now being able to give them tests to be able to see if you are, if you're not, and then be able to give you, what you need to recover. So some people are, I'm not going to say overreacting. I don't want to be disingenuous to anyone who has,
Sure.
what's going on in the country or lost anyone with it. Prayers be to you if you have, but we will recover and we will rebound. That's what the human race does. We got it.
And even if we get to a point in the next few months where, let's say, we've reached basically the other side of it, we're not going to reach the complete other side of it for like a year and a half in terms of vaccinations. But in terms of, okay, we're in a great place, and we're in a place where this is just similar to, let's say, the standard flu. We also need to understand that the total number of recoveries that are tracked won't even come close to the number of people that recover on their own that aren't
Right.
going to be tracked.
Right.
I hate to say it this way, but I may have it right now. It may not affect me. I may be asymptomatic. That's going to be hundreds of thousands of people. I don't want to say millions, but maybe it will be, that will have no idea that they had it, or had an inkling that they had it. It just affected them in a minor way. They stayed home. They got through it. It was never counted.
Right.
The number of recoveries won't come anywhere close to the number of actual people that have recovered from this.
There you go.
And I speak this with all humility and knowing I don't know that much about the situation, but that's just obvious based on the various rates at which people recover or unfortunately don't recover from it. It's just something that affects everyone differently, from having absolutely no idea it happened to, with about 1,200 people to date in this country, it runs the gamut from that to death.
Gotcha.
Depends on the person and their condition and their age and so forth. All right, we'll get back to Miami football. We invite everybody. We've got 49 on the line to ask your questions, make your comments, and we'll respond to them concerning Miami football 2019 at, I'll say it one more time, 6-7. Expecting to be much better, hopefully, in a full 2020 season. And man, to look at that schedule and to look at the talent on this team, and again, I don't think it's a great team. I don't think it's anywhere near where it needs to be, but it's a much better than 6-6 team that was on that field last year. If you rated each positional unit and you said, okay, here's the quarterback room, they're 24th in the country. If you could go through an exhaustive evaluation of every team, and especially the Power 5 teams and especially the ACC teams, and you ranked and rated every unit on the field, they would grade out much better than 6-6 if you just took the talent at the positional units.
Absolutely. I mean, like, I look at it at its worst, Miami, 8-9 wins, must be a down year. Something happened. Somebody got hurt. Maybe it's a down year in recruiting. They'll be back. That type of thing. Kind of like the mid 2000s, where like the wheels start to roll off of the thing, but you knew that if Miami ever rolled it back together, it can start to go pretty easily there, especially in our fertile recruiting ground at that time, and still is to this day, right? But it's gotten way past that. It's gotten way past that to where analysis is yourself who aren't buying to the University of Miami as far as through fandism. You can look at Miami and say, yeah, definitely three or four losses, no problem. I could see them going 8-4 just easily as I could see them going 12-0. It's nowhere in the world that you should be able to say that. But it is. And it's an unfortunate thing until we get ready to change it. And I think that Manny Diaz has done well and won the offseason again. like Cam Underwood said last year, like I'm saying now, winning the offseason isn't always the most important thing, right? You win games in the offseason, yes. There's a difference between winning games in the offseason and winning the offseason. Those are two different things, right? Winning games in the offseason is putting in the work, making the hires, those type of things to where you're building chemistry, you're winning recruiting, all of those type of things to win August through December, early January. Winning the offseason is, oh, we got a new chain. We got new rings. Yeah, we got this guy coming in that we think is going to be pretty good, but not put him in the right scheme, in the right situation. You know, winning games in the offseason is bringing in a marquee strength and conditioning coach, bringing in a marquee coordinator that fits your players. That's winning in the offseason, winning games in the offseason. Now, just winning the offseason is, yeah, we got a nice prop. We got a new stadium. We got new uniforms coming out, guys. Yeah. Let's take pictures. That stuff doesn't work. And Miami's done that pretty well over the last 2-3 years. I mean, any recruit comes there and we throw the chain on them just because. You know, I remember when that you had to earn that. That's one of my pet peeves. I didn't like that. You know, they give you the chain, they give you a nice little hammer, they give you the whole uniform. I mean, any and everything Miami has to offer, you get it if you just go on an official visit and take a picture on it and get on the train and go up. Get on the plane and get out of there, and you've done everything that you want to do at Miami. And I didn't like that.
Some folks in the live chat and in the live stream right here, especially hardcore Miami fans, may not want to hear this, but it's a good example of what exactly you're talking about. And I didn't mean to say this until just the last 10 or 15 seconds of your spiel there. It reminded me of what Urban Meyer did at Ohio State. I don't know if he did this at other stops, but basically, regardless of 5-star, 4-star, whoever you were, you had to earn your letter. So basically, and then he kind of evaluated it as a team. So despite all the glossy, glitzy facilities and all the fancy workout rooms and everything, at the beginning of training camp every year, he takes his team to like a junior high football field, and that's where they practice every day. And there might be rocks on the field. It's horrible. He gives everybody a mattress. They get a mattress. They stay in a middle school. You sleep in the hall, wherever you can find a spot to throw down your mattress, and that's all you've got. You got a mattress to sleep on, and the team has to earn that they are truly an Ohio State football team at that caliber. And it may take 3 days. It may take 13 days. At whatever point he says, okay, you have practiced to the level that I expect. Okay, we're going to move on campus and go back to the facility, and you can stay in your bed, and you get to train in the nice weight room and do everything that we typically do. But until you do that, if you scrape your knee because there's some glass in the field and rocks, and we're training on the 7th grade high school, middle school field, and you got your mattress, and you may get cold at night or whatever because you don't have any covers. You just got a mattress in the hallway, and that's the way we treat this until you earn it.
Whoa. Never heard that before. I mean,
it's pretty interesting.
I've never heard that. That's actually pretty good. I mean, the only thing I know Manny Diaz has done is take the U's off the helmets.
Yeah.
So he's trying.
So the other thing that came to mind when you talked about evaluating the season and making a prediction, my prediction for last season was 8-4. Mm-hmm. And, I went through personnel, went through breakdowns, went through the schedule, do all the exhaustive research. But when it really came down to it, I looked at it this way. I thought there was one team on the schedule that was better than Miami last year, and that was the University of Florida. Yep. And I didn't think it was by a large margin. Mm-hmm. And we saw it on the field. That game could have gone either way. Miami could have easily won that game. So the talent and the performance on the field was razor thin that night on a neutral field. Mm-hmm. So that was the best team they played the whole season, including the bowl game. That was the best team that they played the entire season. And when they came out with a first-time starting quarterback who had never seen snaps in game action, they still came that close to beating a team that finished 11-2 in the top 10 in the nation. So there you go. There's the high end. They, for the second consecutive year, beat the team that won the division. Virginia. They beat them head to head. Virginia wins the division. Last year, 2018, they beat Pitt. Pitt won the division, but they beat them 24-3. They beat them by 3 scores. That's what this team's capable of doing. But I came into the season flat out saying there's only one team on the schedule that's better than them, and they're only that much better. There's another team based on the roster that I thought was as good, and that was Florida State. And obviously Miami won that game 27-10. So they lost a bunch of other games in which I stated in my evaluation, I think this team should go 11-1, but I'm picking them to go 8-4 because that's what I think is going to happen. You group together all these capable teams that aren't as good, but they're capable. Virginia, Louisville, et cetera, et cetera. And they actually beat those 2 teams.
Yeah.
But Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, that's a mystery. FIU, that's a mystery as to how that happens. But I just thought, they're going to blow some of these games. And lo and behold, they blew more than I thought they would.
Oh, absolutely. It's hurtful, but it's a factual statement. I mean, you look at those things should just not happen at Miami, man. And like I said, we got to fix it. We got to pull it together because, you don't want to turn into Nebraska. You don't want to turn into Nebraska where you're like, oh, yeah, we're there. We always had those good old teams and turn on the film with VHS. And I tell you, we were a squad back in the day. Yeah, that doesn't work anymore. Like I tell the story before on my channel a lot of how, the 08 recruiting class with Sean Spence, the number 1 recruiting class under Coach Randy Shannon, and Ja'Cory Harris and Olivier Vernon and guys like that who had some stints in the NFL. And Olivier Vernon is the only one still in the NFL from that recruiting class, FYI. They were a couple recruiting classes away from playing in a big-time Orange Bowl versus Tallahassee in 2004, or playing in a big-time game against LSU in 2005. So they were, as freshmen in high school, they watched the team and were like, oh, we can go there and switch it around. But next season, when we play Alabama in 2021, will have been 20 years, Mark, 2 decades since the University of Miami has won a national championship game. That's almost a generation and a half to where they don't even remember those guys. Frank Gore is the only one from that team that is still in the NFL. And if you ask any random recruit right now, do they know who Frank Gore is? They may or may not really know who he is, right? He's not a big-time, impactful, marquee player in the National Football League. And I say all that to say is we have to renew that resume because it isn't looking good. A lot of those marquee recruits or even some of the 3 and 4 stars look at Miami as just, oh, yeah, it's the University of Miami. They don't look at us as the U anymore, where it's like, man, I just got a UM offer. Manny Diaz just came to see me practice. Like, I'm hyped. Now it's just like, oh, what's up, Manny? How you doing? Nice to see you again this week. It isn't the same impact that it used to. And at the same time, you got to go out there and win in the football games. That's all that matters. Kids don't care about recruiting and tweeting and all. They care about what you do on Saturday afternoon or night, August through December, early January.
Yeah, you definitely have different levels of awareness by the high school athletes in regards to what's out there in regards to the status of these programs. You've got football families where the kid is surrounded by uncles and cousins and his dad that hype up the U. And even though, hey, he doesn't see it on the field for the last 15 years, during his time, he's been told about the greatness of the U and thrown the documentaries and everything. So he's hyped up in that.
Yeah.
There are other kids who they grew up playing video games and they just happen to be talented high school football players and just play football, but they don't watch it. They don't get into it. So they just, man, you got to be great. They know Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, and they
Oklahoma,
just don't watch football. They don't really dig into it. Yeah. They don't know the history. And there you got all sorts of variations of backgrounds and what it means to these kids. But the tough part for Miami is the same thing facing a Nebraska, a Tennessee, that they don't have proof of concept. They don't have They're not able to walk in the living room and say, we went 11-1 last year. We went 12-0 the year before. We went 10-2. We believe we're on that track. And so you got to trust us.
Right. And it's always the understanding. Now, the good part about Miami is that we're 1 year away from flipping the switch. Things get to start rolling in the right direction. Now, it's what do you mean by when you say flip a switch? Do you mean going from 6-7 to 9-4? Or are you talking about going from 6-7 to 10-3, 11-2 type of conversation? That's a whole separate thing when it comes to University of Miami. But like I said, I hate to sound like negative Nancy, but I just want to be able to speak the truth about our program. And it's working, it's rebuilding, it's trying to come back. But another thing I've always looked at, Mark, is you can't just keep firing everybody and starting the thing all over and expect it to work. It doesn't work like that. Any big time CEO business or whatever program, whether it's in football or outside of football, if you just keep firing everybody, then you can't build anything. You can't grow. Then the next person who wants to come and build on this house has to start from the foundation all over again. And, you keep blowing it up. Nope, start all over. Nope, start all over. Nope, start ever matriculate and truly grow into a beautiful home. And hopefully Coach Manny Diaz can get it together. Because if not, I know a guy on the West Coast out of Oregon, Mario Cristobal, that will come down here and be in the playoffs in 2 seasons.
You know what else, Wholesome One, is unfortunate about this situation and really underlines and magnifies the missed opportunity here is if you go to every other division in the Power 5, you've got a powerhouse to get through, or you've got a few really, really good teams. So go to the other side of the ACC. You got to get through Clemson. And before that, it was Florida State when they were humming. Okay, if you go to the SEC, either divisions, obviously.
Either side. Got
Alabama, LSU, Auburn in the SEC West, SEC East, Georgia, Florida.
We would struggle to beat Kentucky and Missouri right now.
Exactly. So you go to the Big Ten. You got to get through Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State on that side. Even the other side, like I say, there's not an elite program, but there's a layer of Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, Northwestern's been good, etc. You go to Big 12, obviously,
guys. Yeah. Just really good guys that's going to line up and do their job. They've been placed in it. They understand the science and the IQ is high. And that's what I say. It speaks volumes, Mark, of how us as a program have been leaning on talent for way too long. Because anytime we played anybody that had better coaching with equal talent, it's an L. It's an L. But continue what you're saying.
And so in this division, and I could go out to the Pac-12 with the same point, but in this division, there hasn't been a really, really good team in this division since so Virginia Tech was pretty good right after Frank Beamer left for a couple of years. And when I say pretty good, I mean fringe top 25 good. I'm not talking really, really good. Right. And North Carolina was good for a couple of years under Larry Fedora, but they weren't really that good. When they played good teams, they got smacked around. There hasn't been – it's been wide open.
You're preaching to the choir. You are preaching to the choir.
There's not powerhouse programs sitting there that you got to go through.
Nope. And it hurts you. It hurts as a fan to be able to turn on the TV and be able to call our entire offense about what's about to happen right now. Oh, yep, Danny Nelson's about to call a dive. Oh, wait, Cam Harris is in the game with Michael Irvin II, our walk-on fullback. It's a stretch play to the short side of the field. Yep, stretch play to the short side. It's horrible. And not just saying anyone like me in my position as far as here at North Dakota State, but anyone else who just watches film can be able to know what's about to happen. Oh, Navon Donaldson's leaning right here. He's about to pull. He pulls. Linebacker shoots right behind him, TFL. It's bad. But that's behind us. We got Rick Lashley now. So he's going to be able to come in and bring his offense. And I mean, I watched a lot of SMU film also. It's exciting, it's refreshing, and it's something that you want to see in the orange and green. It's something that we've been waiting for a long time with an air raid mixed with a spread offense. Like I said, we're getting them at a key moment. The air raid of Sonny Dykes over the last 2 years, and then the run-heavy offense of the Auburn spread mixing together with Rhett Lashley, who I think is maybe a French top 20 offensive coordinator. I mean, the hire made some national news, but it wasn't like a knock out of the park thing. But it's his opportunity to come here and prove that it is a knock out of the park, and either vow for a head coaching job or be here and be one of the best offensive coordinators in college football. But it's all on this right here. It's all on paper until we see it, where guys come out and execute to the highest level, and really show off this offense, because up-tempo in South Florida, in Miami-Dade County, at Hard Rock Stadium, it's hard to go up-tempo and play 60 minutes in that heat if you're not used to it. We've seen some pretty good teams go down there in bowl games and not be playing the University of Miami. And the main thing they always talk about is the heat and humidity is crazy in that stadium. I mean, you watched Florida and Virginia play, and they had like these big fans steaming water on them the entire time. And that was a night 8 p.m. kickoff. Imagine a noon, imagine a 3:30, how hot and how steamy it is. And if you go up tempo against a defense, they're playing you and they're playing Mother Nature with the heat and the humidity, you can wear on them pretty fast if you're going up tempo, because we practice in it every single day. We've lived in it, for those of us who are from there, 18, 20 years or so. So it's a part of, we know it's hot. We just live in it and know how to adapt to it. If I were to take you back to a game where that really manifested itself, I would say 2013 against the University of Florida. You watch those games, and their players were sucking wind second quarter. And you saw that Florida had a lot better talent than Miami. We played our behinds off. And the main thing was Florida could not still deal with that humidity at a noon kickoff game, and they were humming, and they could not breathe. I mean, their D tackles were throwing up on the sideline, and it worked out well. And hopefully now, almost a decade later, we can finally use that to our advantage.
And I'm not going to belabor the point, but going back to your previous point about well-coached teams that don't have as much talent, it's as I look behind me, it's sheer complete coincidence that I've got Wisconsin lined up against Miami, because they might be the anti-Miami right there, and obviously beat Miami in 2 consecutive bowl games just a couple seasons ago.
Yeah. 0-3 total.
Offensive line, where they're just a factory, and at the running back position, which I'm not saying they're better than, they're as good as. Other than that, maybe they're really good in the front 7, but man, secondary speed, wide receiver speed doesn't compare. They shouldn't. They beat Miami 2 consecutive years in bowl games, just playing what they know who they are and what they need to do.
That's it. They know who they are and what they need to do. And when you think Miami, what's the very first thing that comes to your mind, Mark? When you think Miami athletics?
Speed.
Yeah, us too, Mark. And we had an OC that sat there and didn't snap the ball until 5 seconds left on the clock, and had our players playing pro I formation like this is Iowa Central. Wait, Iowa Central runs the spread. My bad. I mean, it was bad, man. It's horrible to watch. And the same inverse happened on the defensive side of the ball. We went from playing that 3-4 stuff under Mark D'Onofrio, who was unemployed, and there's a reason why. And now we turn around and have a 4-3 attack with Manny Diaz, and you saw how much of a difference it was. So hopefully we can have that happen on the offensive side of the ball. But that's it. Playing to who you are, knowing who and what you are, and playing to it. That's all you can ask.
All right, folks, we appreciate you stopping by, and always appreciate the hour plus given to us by the Wholesome One. Please check out his YouTube channel, the Wholesome One Holloway. Wholesome One Holloway. That's HOLSUM, the number 1. check them out right here on YouTube. If you shop Amazon, and I know most of you do at some point, please use the link in the description section to help us build the channel. And of course, if you miss the live streams, what you do is you wait for the video to post and you go back and you check out what you missed, because we receive a ton of comments and questions concerning topics we've already hit on from people that join us late. So certainly there's no harm in that, but just understand that most of the time we have covered your particular question. You just need to wait for that video to post, because most of you join us a little bit late, and you go back and you give it a look there. And you're going to know when the live streams are coming. If you subscribe to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, turn on the notification bell, and you know when we're going live, which is going to be next time at 11 a.m. on Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow, with Cam Underwood from State of the U. And sometime here before we get anywhere close to the football season, we need to get these two on together.
Oh,
and that'll be a good time.
Please, man. I'll make sure I have my notes ready to go. And it won't be a debate. It won't be toe-to-toe, but I will definitely appreciate the share the screen with the GOAT, man, with the greatest of all time, Cam Underwood. Appreciate him. Thank you so much, Mark, for having me on. To those of you who are Host of One subscribers, I will be on at 4 p.m. Eastern today with a special guest. So, Mark, thank you so much for allowing me to come on your channel and showcase my talent on your platform. God bless. Have a great rest of your night.
See you all back here at 11 a.m. on Saturday for another Miami Hurricanes live edition with Cam Underwood from State of the U. Want to remind everyone as well that we have call-in shows every Sunday at 10 o'clock Eastern time and Friday at noon Eastern time. That's our newly announced off-season schedule. And our Friday noon show this week taken up by Ohio State Buckeyes Live, but typically we will have call-in shows Sunday night at 10 o'clock Eastern time, Friday at noon Eastern time, and then also, of course, all of your favorite show would be, of course, Florida State Live, Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern time, and the Ohio State and Miami shows unfortunately have to float because of schedules that need to be worked on and worked out each and every week. So I appreciate all of you stopping by. I can't thank you enough for supporting the channel in every way that you do. Like, comment, share the videos out there on social media, and of course, subscribe to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We will see all of you next time as I give a last second rundown of all the comments to see if I missed anything. I did see one comment in here by, I believe, Dante, referring to the college football season and at what point are we in jeopardy, and if he sees some kind of combination of spring and summer workouts. The way I see it is typically these kids go to fall camp on August 1st. They, during the months of June and July, have individual workouts on campus. Obviously, we have missed spring practice. I can see a scenario, I'm not predicting this, but I can see a scenario in which we get football back sometime in, let's say, late June to early July, and there is a decision made by the various conferences and the NCAA that there's an abbreviated spring practice that becomes a summer practice of sorts. Let's say a 2-week session sometime in late June, early July. And then they take a respite, give the kids a break for a couple weeks, come back for the regular August camp the first week of August. That would be the most normal situation, the most optimistic, and again, normal situation that is somewhat in line with what we currently have. No spring practice, of course, but coming back for an abbreviated spring practice sometime in June, giving the kids a few weeks off, then they come back for their regular summer fall camp at the beginning of August. Again, that's not a prediction. That's a scenario that's possible or probable if we get back to normalcy in the next 2 months, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, something in that range. Again, we appreciate it. I would love to name you all by name, but I appreciate your contribution, appreciate you jumping on the live chat, and of course, giving us that like, the comment, the share, and the subscription right here, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.